Washington State DOT officials released new information on a plan to expand Interstate 41. Construction should begin early next month and could last well into 2030. As we previously reported, the project would expand the interstate from Grand Chute to Pier to 6 lanes. At today's meeting, DOT officials said the noise barriers were approved by a majority of the community. Federal highway funds will pay for the barrier construction. The plan is to keep 4 lanes open during peak traffic hours. Any work that would require detours and traffic impacts like over and underpass work would happen during less busy times. The DOT says construction will happen in sections starting at the Capitol Drive overpass in Appleton this spring, estimating that each of the 6 sections of the highway will take 2 years, with some sections under construction at the same time. After